Jordan thought he had cracked the code. He moved his emergency fund into a high-interest savings account paying 5%. He'd done the research. He knew the big banks were paying next to nothing, while everyone else was earning 1% at RBC or TD. Jordan was earning over 40 times that. He thought he had solved it. He didn't. His bank was still making more off his deposit than he was. And the thing his high-yield account was doing with his money, he could have done it himself and kept the full yield. But here's the part that really stings. His coworker Maya still had $20,000 sitting in a standard big bank savings account. In 1 year, her bank paid her $20 in interest. That same year, her bank took that $20,000 and used it to earn over $1,000. She got $20. They kept the rest, and she thanked them for it. Maya had no idea she was losing money. Jordan thought he'd fixed the problem. They were both wrong, just at different levels. Let me run the numbers on both. Here's what your Canadian bank doesn't want you to see. Maya did everything she was told to do. She saved 6 months of expenses. She kept in a savings account at one of the big five, RBC, TD, Scotiabank, BMO, or CIBC. She checked her balance every month and saw a small interest deposit. A few dollars here, a few dollars there. It felt responsible. It felt safe. Her savings account was paying 1% APY. That's the reality for most standard savings accounts at Canada's major banks right now. On $20,000, that's $20 a year, about $1.67 a month. Not even enough for a coffee. Now, Maya probably never thought about what her bank was doing with that $20,000 while it sat in her account. She probably assumed it was just sitting in a vault somewhere waiting for her. It wasn't. The moment Maya deposited that money, the bank put it to work. Not for her. For them. Here's what Maya's bank did with her $20,000. First, they lent it out. That's the core business model of every Canadian bank. They take your deposit, pay you a tiny fraction, and lend that money to someone else at a much higher rate. The difference between what they pay you and what they earn is called the net interest margin. And right now, Canada's big five banks have net interest margins between 5% and 5% on average. But that's just the average. Let's look at where the really wide margins are. Credit cards. The average credit card interest rate in Canada is over 19%. Some store cards go above 25%. Maya's bank takes deposits like hers, pays her 1%, and turns around and lends that money to credit card holders at 19% or more. On $20,000, even a small portion allocated to credit card lending generates profit that dwarfs what they paid her for the entire year. Auto loans around 7% to 9%, mortgages 5% to 7%, personal loans 10% to 15%. Every one of these lending products is funded in part by deposits like Maya's, and everyone earns the bank multiples of what she receives. Then there's the Treasury trade. And this is the one that should make you pause and buys short-term Government of Canada Treasury bills. Right now, 3-month T-bills are yielding around 2% to 5%. The bank buys those treasuries with Maya's money, earns 2%, and pays Maya 1%. That's a 1% spread on an asset Maya could buy herself. The bank is literally acting as a middleman between Maya and the Government of Canada and charging her over 4% for the privilege. Add it all up, and the picture is clear. Maya's bank didn't hold her money. They rented it. They paid her $20 a year for the right to use her $20,000 however they wanted, and she thought she was earning interest. Now let's talk about Jordan, because Jordan is the person watching this video thinking, I already knew that. That's why I moved my money to a high-interest savings account. And Jordan's not wrong. He's ahead of Maya, way ahead. His high-interest savings account at a place like EQ Bank, Motive, or a promo rate somewhere else was paying 5% while Maya's paid 1%. On $20,000, Jordan is earning about $900 a year compared to Maya's $20. He did his homework. He made the switch. He's earning over 40 times more than the average saver. So what's the problem? The first problem is that 5% might not be what Jordan is actually earning. A lot of high-interest savings accounts advertise up to a certain rate. That up to is doing heavy lifting. Some accounts have tiered rates where the top rate only applies to the first $1,000. After that, the rate drops. Others offer a promotional rate for the first 90 days, then quietly reduce it. Jordan saw 5% in the headline. His effective rate might be much lower. The second problem is the tax treatment. Interest earned in a savings account, whether traditional or high interest, is taxed as ordinary income in Canada. That means Jordan's $900 gets added to his other income, and he pays his full marginal tax rate on it. If Jordan is in a 30% combined federal and provincial bracket, his $900 becomes roughly $630 after tax. If he's in a 40% bracket, that's $540, and there's no way around it. The third problem, and this is the big one, is what Jordan's high-interest savings account is actually doing with his money. Where do you think the bank gets the returns to pay Jordan for? 5%? They're doing exactly what we just described with Maya's bank. They're lending it out. They're buying treasuries. They're running the same profit machine. The only difference is that a high-interest savings account shares a bigger slice of the profit with the depositor. But it's still a slice. The bank is still the middleman, and the middleman is still taking a cut. Here's the question Jordan never asked. If the bank is using my money to buy Government of Canada Treasury bills and earn 2%, why don't I just buy the Treasury bills myself? Let me run the numbers. Same $20,000, same 12-month period. 3 different scenarios. Scenario 1. Maya's traditional big bank savings account at 1% APY, gross interest earned, $20. After tax at a 30% marginal rate, she keeps roughly $14. That's what 6 months of responsible saving earns her in a full year. Scenario 2. Jordan's high-interest savings account at 5% APY. Gross interest earned, $900. After tax at 30%, he keeps about $630, a huge improvement over Maya, but he's paying federal and provincial tax on every dollar of that interest. Scenario 3. A short-term Government of Canada Treasury bill. You can buy T-bills directly or use an Acadian Treasury ETF like CBIL or HFR, which invests in 0 to 3-month Government of Canada T-bills. Right now, the yield on 3-month T-bills is around 2% to 5%. On $20,000, that's roughly $840 in gross income over a year. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Interest from Government of Canada Treasury securities is not tax-free, but here's the key difference. If you hold T-bills inside a TFSA, you pay 0 tax. None, not federal, not provincial. Jordan's high-interest savings account pays tax on every dollar, even inside a TFSA. Because interest from a savings account in a TFSA is still taxable? Actually, no. Jordan could hold his HISA inside a TFSA too, but most people don't. And here's the real kicker. A HISA inside a TFSA still has the bank taking a cut. A T-bill inside a TFSA cuts the bank out entirely. If Jordan's $20,000 is in a TFSA earning 5% from a bank, he keeps the full $900 tax-free. But the bank still made extra money on top of that. If he buys CBL inside the same TFSA, he gets roughly $840 tax-free, and there is no bank middleman taking a spread. The difference is that the T-bill yield is transparent, no promo rates, no fine print, no bait and switch. And if your TFSA is maxed out, then you hold the T-bills or CBL in a non-registered account. Unlike a savings account, where all interest is fully taxable, capital gains from Treasury ETFs can be deferred. But more importantly, and this is the part that surprises most Canadians, interest from federal T-bills is still fully taxable as interest income. So that's not the advantage. The real advantage is cutting out the bank spread and getting a transparent market-driven yield that no bank can quietly lower next month. Your bank can drop your HISA rate from 5% to 2% with 30 days notice. CBIL's yield tracks actual T-bill auctions. When the Bank of Canada raises or cuts rates, the ETF changes. There's no fine print, no promo period. So here's what I recommend. It's simpler than most people think. First, keep your checking account. Don't close it. You still need it for daily spending, rent, bills, groceries. This isn't about changing how you spend money. It's about changing where your idle money sits. Second, identify your idle cash. That's your emergency fund, your savings, cash waiting to be invested, money for a down payment, or a big purchase. This is the money sitting in a savings account earning next to nothing while your bank earns 10 to 50 times more on it. Third, here are your options to move that cash in Canada. Option 1. A Canadian Treasury bill ETF like CBL or HFR. You buy it through any brokerage account, Wealthsimple, Questrade, TD Direct Investing, whatever you already use. You buy it like a stock. The ETF takes your money and invests it in Government of Canada T-bills that mature in 3 months or less. Every month, you get a distribution. That's the interest income. Right now, that's yielding around 2% to 5%. When you need your money back, you sell it during market hours. The price stays very stable. The management fee is tiny, around 10% to 15%. On $20,000, that's $20 to $30 a year. Option 2. Buy T-bills directly through a brokerage or through your bank's self-directed investing platform. You can buy at auction. The downside is it's less liquid than an ETF. You're committing to a maturity date of 4 weeks to 52 weeks. But if you don't need instant access, this cuts out every middleman except your brokerage. Option 3. A high-interest savings ETF like Cash 2 or HF. These are not government treasuries. They hold deposits at Canadian banks. They pay around 4% to 5% right now. And here's the ironic twist. Even a HISA ETF is often better than a retail HISA because the ETF gets institutional rates. The same bank that pays you 1% pays an ETF 4% plus. You can then buy that ETF yourself. You're effectively getting the wholesale rate instead of the retail rate. Now here's the objection most people raise, but my savings account has CDIC insurance, and that's true. CDIC covers up to $100,000 per depositor per bank. If the bank fails, the government guarantees your money. That's a real protection. But think about what you're comparing it to. Government of Canada Treasury bills are backed by the full faith and credit of the same federal government that runs CDIC. When you buy a T-bill, you're lending directly to the Government of Canada. The risk of default is essentially 0 because the government can print money to pay its debts. You're not giving up safety. You're moving from a government guarantee on your bank to lending directly to that same government. The second objection, I need instant access to my money. Fair. And that's why you keep your checking account funded for daily needs. For your emergency fund in something like CBIL, yes, there's a 1 to 2 day settlement period when you sell. But be honest. When's the last time you needed $20,000 in cash within 60 seconds? In a real emergency, 1 to 2 business days is fine. And the difference in yield while you wait for that emergency is hundreds of dollars a year. Maya was responsible. She saved her money. She kept it in a bank. She checked her balance. She did everything right by the rules she was taught. Jordan was informed. He moved to a high-interest savings account. He earned over 40 times what Maya earned. He thought he'd cracked the code. But neither one ever asked the real question. What is my bank doing with my money? And can I do it myself? The answer is yes. Your Canadian bank takes your deposit, buys Government of Canada treasuries, lends it out at 7%, 12%, 19%, and pays you a fraction of a percent. The smartest move isn't finding a better savings account. It's asking why you need one at all. If this video showed you something you didn't know was happening with your money in Canada, subscribe for more. And the next video is one you don't want to miss.